All right, so today we're going to be talking about why everything feels so boring now, what's causing this, and what to do about it. So, the dopamine trap, right? You're not lazy, your brain is just being hijacked. With dopamine, you get this stimulation all the time with all the distractions we have going on in the world, and you don't even have time to think or process or really focus on a task because you have social media, you have junk food, you have screens all over the place, right? You have a million notifications going off. And so your brain is hijacked to respond to this. Now, dopamine is the motivation chemical. So you get a little dopamine hit anytime you feel like a sense of reward. Now, there's two types of rewards, right? There's either the cheap type of dopamine, which would be scrolling, video games, porn, junk food, gambling, anything where it takes very little effort, but you get like a quick and instant hit. And then there is the longer term, more real dopamine, where you had to work hard for something, and then you struggled and achieved your goal, right? Like you had a hard gym session and you feel rewarded after, or you worked all day and you earned some money, okay? So the motivation chemical is what's responding to this kind of trap. And so today we're drowning in cheap dopamine, right? We have endless supplies of anything you could ever ask for, unlimited content on every topic, right? Video games that can draw on your fantasy in any sort of thing you're interested in. So it's destroying your ability to focus. That's really what's going on here, and why everything feels so boring is because you don't even have the ability to focus on something. And so as soon as you remove your source of cheap dopamine, right, you throw your phone down and you're like, what, if you're unemployed or you don't have anything going on, you have it unscheduled, nothing going on in your weekend, you're like, well, what am I going to do? I don't really feel like I can focus on anything. Why is that? Well, it's because of this dopamine trap. Okay, so what is dopamine really? So breaking it down a little bit more, it's a neurotransmitter driving motivation, habit formation, and reward seeking. So when you get these cheap hits of dopamine, they kind of dampen your motivation, your ability to form a habit, and it's a source of a cheap reward, right? So you don't feel like doing anything, you don't feel like trying anything for an extended period of time, and you don't even want to because you already are getting a nice little reward from scrolling infinitely, okay? So evolutionarily, this is designed to help you hunt, solve problems, build things, and survive, right? And in today's world where, especially in the Western countries where we have a lot of infrastructure and things built up, so where we take things for granted, right? We don't really have to wake up and worry about hunting, a deer or gazelle just to be able to eat today. No, you can just go down to a 7-Eleven and buy a cheap bag of chips, and that's good enough, right? So dopamine was designed evolutionarily to help you progress, right? It makes hard work feel good. But if you have these sort of cheap senses of dopamine, then hard work doesn't feel good. It's replaced with something easy, something instant, and something that gives you no benefits, no long-term benefits, right? Okay. So today, what's this triggered by? Well, triggered by screens, by constant notifications, by porn, video games, junk food, anything that's easily accessible and provides like an immediate pleasure response. So it's essentially instant gratification, right? versus delayed gratification, where you have to work at something, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, but then the payoff is on the back end, right? Where you complete your task and you get something rewarding out of it. So why is this happening? Well, short form content has been, since the onset of around COVID, right, has been a huge driver in kind of spamming this dopamine trap. So TikTok, Reels, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, all of these forms of media are constant novelty, and it essentially overstimulates your brain, right? So every time you scroll, you're seeing something new, something interesting, something intriguing, something funny, something entertaining, and your brain is overstimulated. We're not meant to be hyperfixated on things that are manipulated to basically like fully overstimulate your brain with bright screens and loud noises and a lot going on just constantly. Over the span of an hour, you could be scrolling, not even realizing how much time passed by, and your brain is completely fried. Okay? So, dopamine hits every few seconds essentially equals no tolerance for slow tasks. Okay, so what are slow tasks? That would be something like reading, right? If you noticed, as soon as you open your phone, you don't want to go back to something boring like reading. It's very hard. Like, you have to physically throw your phone across the room or put it in another room to even consider trying to sit down and read a book, because it fries your brain and it gives you basically zero tolerance for things that you feel are slow. Okay, so things like studying, deep work, right? These things feel painful. They feel more painful after you've been just up to your eyeballs in short form content, right? Long form, not as much, right? Because it's a deeper, slower type of more methodical and well laid out type of content. But with shorts, especially fast moving video games, these things really fry your brain. Okay, not permanently, just temporarily, but that can have lasting effects if you're constantly doing it. So this isn't because you're weak. It's just because your brain has been rewired. You probably don't even realize this, right? That you've been on your phone or on your laptop or something, or playing video games, jerking off, right? And you're like, you don't even realize what's happening, and you're just responding to stimuli, right? And so signs you're addicted to dopamine. This would be something like you're constantly checking your phone. So as soon as you feel slightly bored, you open up your phone, right? It's a habit. It's an instant response, because you can't stand, if you're on a bus and you're on a long ride, or you're sitting at home, you can't stand the thought of being bored. It sounds excruciatingly painful, okay? And so this would also be something like you can't sit still or focus for more than 5 minutes, right? You have that like nervous leg shake where you're bouncing your leg because you need some type of stimulation, because back when I was lifeguarding and I had like this type of ADHD brain, like just staring at a pool, it was boring. Like I was gonna fall asleep if something else wasn't going on, right? That's also kind of why, if you see short form and long form content, they have like two screens going on, like someone playing video games while someone's talking on a podcast, because people know attention spans have shrunk. I think the statistic is now the average attention span is about 9 seconds or 8 seconds, which is less than that of a goldfish, which has an attention span of 9 seconds. And so you can't sit still or focus, okay? So another sign you're addicted to this dopamine kind of trap would be you have multiple tabs. You can't engage in any deep work. You can't sit down, and if you want to write a book, you can't write anything, not even a page, right? You have to check your phone, you have to walk around, you have to do dance and all these things just to keep your brain from falling asleep. Okay. Another sign would be you need background music or screens, right? You can't just have one thing going on. It has to be, you have to be on your phone, and you have to have your laptop on your lap, and you have to have your TV going with YouTube, right? Because one thing isn't good enough. Okay, so another sign you'd be addicted to dopamine is escapism habits, which would be porn, sugar, caffeine, and doom scrolling, right? So anything that kind of like stimulates you. Marijuana would fall into this category. Like, you just need it. Like, don't even think about it. It's like, I'm bored, I can't sit still, I can't focus, I need something, right? I need something to numb the pain. Okay, so how is this killing your focus and ambition? That's the real question. Well, shallow stimulation lowers your dopamine baseline. So you're constantly spamming reels, and you have less and less attention span to focus on other tasks. Okay, like I said earlier, this is not a permanent thing. If you go to sleep and you wake up the next morning and you're able to resist scrolling on your phone, then this will build back up. You'll have more ability to focus on long-term tasks. Maybe like, hey, I'm going to go on a run this morning. Okay, I'm going to spend 4 hours researching on ChatGPT how to start this business, right? Okay, so you got to understand that the more you engage in these shallow stimulation kind of interactions, this will lower your ability to focus. Okay, so real progress, unfortunately, is slow, boring, and difficult. Okay, so if you think about it, anything worth doing is usually hard, and it usually takes a lot of time, effort, and skill. And so you're not going to make any real progress if you're constantly distracted, unable to focus, and don't have the attention span to put time and effort into something. Building a business takes years, right? Building a good physique takes years. Building a good reputation takes years. And so if you're struggling with this, it's because of this trap, right? And so an addicted brain rejects real progress, right? So if you have the dopamine brain, right, ADHD brain, it feels painful and very difficult to progress, and you don't even want to do it. So I have a buddy of mine who hadn't seen in a while, right? And then I'd been hitting the gym pretty hard. He had not. And then he saw me and he was like, hey man, like, can you help me get into shape, right? And I'm like, sure, yeah, let's, it's almost the new year, let's start on January 2nd or 3rd or whatever it was. And he's like, yeah, I mean, I'd love to get into shape. I just remember, though, like, muscle soreness and working out and how painful that was, though, and I never want to feel that again. And I was like, but you just said you want to get into shape, though, but it's painful in the beginning, right? And his problem was his brain, which I know he was on a lot of stimulants, junk food, constant social media, out of shape, all of these things. His brain would completely reject the idea of any difficult, worthwhile task, even if it meant getting, a lot of benefits, really good shape, more respect from people, more energy, and all of that. But his brain was rejecting that. So this leads to procrastination, anxiety, and basically low self-esteem, right? So you get sucked into this negative spiral, going down. You need to feed this black hole of, I need more stimulation, I want more junk food, I want more porn, I want to play more video games, right? And so you get stuck into this basically negative feedback loop. Okay, so how dopamine detoxes are misunderstood, because if you want to undo this, you have to detoxify yourself. Well, you don't need to go completely cold turkey, right? You don't need to say, all right, today and from now on, I'm never going to open up social media again. I'm never going to eat another donut in my life. I'm never going to do all this. No. That's not going to work when you go from zero discipline and just completely dopamine addicted to trying to cut all that out in 180. You're basically going to run into a brick wall. Okay, you kind of have to trick yourself, and so it's not about suffering. It's about rebalancing. Okay, you're not punishing yourself. You just need to rewire your brain to build good habits. Okay, and that takes it is uncomfortable. It's difficult. It's painful. It kind of sucks. But in the beginning, it's only in the beginning. Over time, I believe it takes on average 28 days to form a new habit. Once you hit that basically 4-week mark where let's say you want to get in shape, you want to go to the gym, right? Once you hit that 4-week mark, then it becomes you're on autopilot, right? It feels good, but up until that point, it's a bit painful. So dopamine should come from achievement, not consumption. Okay, the same idea with instant gratification versus delayed gratification. You need to consciously rewire your brain to be like, is this a source of instant gratification, or is this something that is more delayed gratification? You should almost always go for delayed gratification. Yes, it's okay to indulge in something occasionally. Relax and watch a YouTube video, play some video games after a stressful day. But the majority of the time, 80-90% of the time, you're serving yourself better by delaying gratification and going after achievement. Okay. So how do you reset your dopamine system? Well, you do that by cutting out cheap dopamine, starting with a 7 to 14 day fast, right? What has helped me is when I was always scrolling on Reels, right? I deleted the app. If I want to go and check my Instagram messages, talk to my friends, scroll for a bit, I have to go in the browser. It's not as nice. It's not as good of an experience. I can't get notifications. But because of that, I don't even want to really spend as much time there, okay? So you kind of have to trick yourself. You need to delete, make things more painful. Don't put things right in front of you. So if you just love eating junk food, right? Don't buy it. Make it so you have to go to the store to get it. So you actually have to think about it, get in your car, drive there, and maybe you're like, actually that's too much effort. I'll just make a sandwich, cook some rice or something, right? So you need to cut out and kind of fast this cheap dopamine to kind of rewire your brain. And so TikTok, porn, ultra-processed food, all of these things are things that would be considered cheap dopamine, right? And so replace them with earned dopamine, okay? So that'd be some things like weightlifting, a martial art. Like I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, so that's something that I have been training for almost 8 years now. Okay, that would be more earned dopamine. Like you get like a really good endorphin hit, like a long-lasting chemical feeling. So maybe running, okay? Could be reading, learning, building something, building a business, building a project, right? And all of these would be more earned and not just passively consumed, okay? So another way to kind of reset your dopamine system would be to go outside and actually be bored on purpose. Literally try and just sit there and be outside. There have been studies that show that just being outdoors relieves anxiety, depression, and boredom. It's our natural habitat. We're not meant to be in, air-conditioned, gloomy, dark building. Okay, so that's how you would reset your system. There's one more point here that I want to get across, which is long-term systems for more focused living. That would be setting time blocks for your phone or social media use, right? Like delete the app. Only go on Instagram when at night after you get all your tasks done. Use a streak mechanic. Like you reward consistency, not perfection. So, if I work on my business for 1 hour a day, at the end of the day, I can go and buy a snack, right, at the gas station or something like that. You build a dopamine hierarchy. So lowest effort would give you the lowest reward, and you have to consciously think about that. So your brain should think about link dopamine to progress and not pleasure. So rewiring your brain, flipping the script, and consciously actually struggling to undo a lot of this. So instead of this negative spiral and feedback loop, you actually build a positive feedback loop to where effort actually feels good. Click the video appearing on your screen and I will see you there.